Under oath, do you commit to not releasing any report by Mr. Durham before the November election?
No.
You don't commit to that?
No.
So you
I will
won't
be
go
very
by
careful.
Department of Justice policy
I know what Justice
that you
Department
won't
policy
interfere in any political investigations before the November election?
We're not going to interfere. In fact, I've made it clear I'm not going to tolerate
But under oath, you're saying that you do not commit to not releasing a report by Durham.
I'm not going to. Any report will be, in my judgment, not one that is covered by the policy and would disrupt the election.
The time of the gentleman.
I've already made it clear that neither
You would
candidate
go against your own Department of Justice policy, Mr. Barr.
Why don't you tell me what that policy is?
Oh, I have it right here.
Well, actually,
Do you want me to repeat it for you?
no, I know what the policy is.
The time of the
Okay.
gentlelady.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman,
you. I yield
Go ahead.
back.
Chairman.
Go
I
ahead.
yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Gentlelady.
Point of order,
Gentlelady
Mr.
yields
Chairman.
back. What purpose does the gentleman seek?
Is it permissible for a member of this committee to accuse the sitting Attorney General of the United States of murder? Because that's what we just heard. Those words need to be struck from this record. This is outrageous.
The members control the time.
Mr. Chairman.
To say whatever they want? What about rules of decorum?
Mr. Chairman.
Escobar,
Mr. Chairman, I actually have a clarification. Mr. Chairman.
Escobar.
Mr. No, this I just.
Escobar is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Was the
Escobar.
video played by the previous member? Was that a video of things that happened in the United
Escobar.
States or in Venezuela? I just want a clarification. What was the video?
Gentleman is not stating a cognizable point of order. Ms. Escobar is recognized.
Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and yeah, I'm still around. I'm just going through a really bad chronic fatigue flare, so I wanted to get these out to you. I know they're probably a couple days old at this point, but I just didn't have the energy to be able to bring them to you yet, but I've got some really good stuff here, guys, so stick with me. I'm going to try to do the best I can to make it through this. So I wanted to start out with this. Yes, I watched the hearings. I have been watching hearings. That's about all I've been able to do. And, oh, gee, this one literally made me sick to my stomach, the whole Barr thing, because it was the epitome of rudeness, and what you just heard, that was pretty much how it went. So I'm sure you've heard by now that the Democrats all talked about reclaiming their time. But that particular question that was asked right there, I think it's very pertinent and important for us to take note of, because I agree with this researcher who says that it's peculiar that someone in Congress would off-topic try to get Barr to swear under oath he won't release the Durham findings prior to November. Afraid much? I think that's probably very true, because it's just been crazy. And that was something that they tried to make him do, and you heard him, he said no. I just laughed when I heard that, but the rest of it was just a horrible, horrible example of just how low the Democrats are going. By the way, I think this is a link to the full video in case you didn't watch the hearing, but it was painful to watch, it really was. But I wanted to show you this article about it, because this is from the Daily Beast. Now remember, the Daily Beast is very left-leaning, and they were talking about the Dems were dying to take down Bill Barr, then they nearly blew it. Well, I think they did blow it, frankly. I think it was a poor showing of them, just completely. But what I really wanted to show you, I mean, of course, they're talking about armchair quarterbacking, and just to mention that, I do want to kind of have you look at things from armchair quarterbacking, because, when we're talking about everything that's going on with Joe Biden, and he's talking about how Trump has handled this whole pandemic thing, that's armchair quarterbacking. It's really easy for him to sit there and say, well, I would have done this, or I would have done that. And it's like, Joe, just how would you have done that? I would have gotten more PPE. Well, how are you going to accomplish that? Because you wouldn't have made it possible for these factories to turn into production facilities for the PPE. I mean, there's no way Joe Biden would have thought of doing that, but Donald Trump did. So that's just an aside, by the way. Like I said, I just got a lot of things that on my mind with all of this, and I feel like my head has had a whole bunch of junk dumped into it. I just need to share it with you, okay? So anyway, I wanted to show you that they're talking about it. And yeah, really, the minute that started and the way Nadler started with that particular hearing and everything on Twitter, people were just slamming him all over the place. I mean, even Democrats were slamming him because he did not handle it well. And I like what they said here. Nadler's always trying to hit a target he can't seem to hit. Yeah, that's just him, Jerry Nadler. And so down here, I think what's really important, and it's just a little ways down here. Look at this. In response to a question from the Daily Beast about the criticism directed at Nadler and other members, a spokesperson for the committee said, look at this. We worked with every single member of the committee on their questions and worked through the themes they were trying to hit in today's hearing, both in terms of substance and style. So there's no doubt. I mean, I didn't doubt it anyway, but this was a coordinated effort. It was something that they put together. The Democrats all worked together. That's why every time Barr tried to answer a question, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time. So that was a coordinated effort, and we have it right here. The Daily Beast said it. This is a spokesperson for the committee who said, we worked with every single member of the committee on their questions. So yes, that was a coordinated effort for sure. So I wanted to show you that. Remember, I'm going to put all the links to these down below. There's going to be a lot of them because I'm not going to spend much time on any one of them. I wanted to show you this just in case you're wondering how you can help with this entire mission, I guess. This operation, if you're a digital soldier, you know that we're not just sitting back and, letting the team fix everything. We're working, and this is some of the ideas for how you can join in case you want to participate. Lots of hashtags. We want to keep those going, and even though they may not, Twitter has been messing with the order of those and whether they're going to trend or not. I mean, they've really been messing with the numbers. But we can still keep putting them out there because people need to become aware of this. And what's really good is if you can find some other topic that's related to these that might be trending and just kind of piggyback on those and put these in there because it's really important. And then here's some information. These are the releases of the declassified documents right here in case you don't have that, the new ones. And here's just more that you can use. Okay, so it is starting to unravel. That's what Mark Meadows said. It is starting to memes, and this is just all kinds of stuff that you can use to help you if you want to become part of this battle. It's really important that we break through the lies that are out there because I'm sure you're seeing more and more of them all the time. Well, again, I'm a couple days behind in all of this, but Portland hits feds with $500 fine. Every 15 minutes, the fence stands outside the besieged courthouse. So they have worked through a deal as of now, as far as I'm hearing, and that the Portland police are now kind of taking back parts of that area. But yeah, this is what they were doing, a $500 fine every 15 minutes. So being unreasonable, of course. And, the big thing they could just do is say, yes, please help us. Because, if you haven't quelled something like this, these riots and things, in a month or 2 months, then you need some help. Because obviously you're not handling it well. So anyway, these are not in any order, by the way, folks. I tried to clump some of them together, but yeah, this is about all I can manage tonight. Anyway, this is kind of an important point. John Brennan blocked from accessing classified information. He's writing this book, of course, and he's working on his new memoir is what it is. And he can't get to it. And he says, that after months of haggling, he discovered the CIA was abiding by the directive Trump gave in August 2018 that purportedly forbids anyone in the intelligence community from sharing classified information with me. Ha! Gee, the people were actually doing what they were supposed to do. They were doing what the president directed them to do. That's just too funny. And oh, Brennan's so upset about it. Well, I lost my security clearance. Oh, but that's good. You know, things are really coming down. He's going to be one that, you know, has an unsealed indictment on him, I'm sure. And then I wanted to point this out to you because you know about the doctors, I'm sure the White Coat Summit doctors. And this one has hired Lin Wood. Now, who's Lin Wood? He's the one that helped the Covington Catholic kids, Nick Sandman. So that's a very good sign. I mean, he's gonna really go for it because there's no reason why she should have been fired. This is getting to become a witch hunt with all of this stuff. And it is, the doctors are very concerned with the disinformation campaign being played out in the far left American media today. And I think we all should be, because with the media and social media too, when they're making statements on a drug as to whether a drug works or doesn't work, they don't have any standing to be doing that. Okay, they're not medical doctors. They don't have a medical doctor in charge of this. And there's really no reason why they should have taken the stance, or any of them should be taking the stance. It should be, you know, practicing medicine without a license, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, this one just popped up a couple days ago. I saw it and I figured I wanted to share it with you guys. Tom Hanks returning to childhood job to sell hot dogs at Oakland A's games amid MLB season with no crowds. Selling hot dogs. I'm just going to leave that there because I think y'all know what that means. Anyway, then I wanted to point this out because I think Buck Sexton here had a good point. John Lewis's funeral was in Georgia. Dozens of members of Congress were there. Georgia is on Washington, D.C. Mayor Bowser's list of states that require 2-week mandatory quarantine for 14 days. Are these politicians going into quarantine, or are rules just for the little people? Evidently, the rules are for us little people, because a lot of them were in those hearings. Yeah, which is in some ways better. At least they're in the hearings and not phoning it in like some of them have. But I don't know. Anyway, thought it was a really good point there. And, you know, if you're going to have these rules, then you need to abide by them. But that isn't the way it's working these days. Now, this one, I don't know if it's going to stay up, but I'll leave the link down below because the last one I posted of his then was taken down. This is very interesting because some people were never given tests. Like, they got into line and, you know, to have a test taken, but they it was long line and they didn't want to wait. So they left, and then they get this call saying, hey, your result was positive. And it's like, I didn't take the test. So I just think this is really interesting. And what he did was he asked for people who actually had that happen to him. So it's not, oh, the brother of my aunt told me this. Well, that's kind of a silly thing. I tell you guys, I'm a little on the tired side tonight. Okay, a friend of a friend of a friend. There, let's try that. A friend of a friend of a friend told me, but he wanted to have actual people. And so the people that he talks about said, this happened to me. And it's really kind of scary. Well, it's not scary. It's not unusual. It's what we should expect, right? Because this lady right here says, my husband just called me. He left for work, got gas in town, went into the store, opened door for a nurse going in. He said to her, no mask? She rolled her eyes and said, not after we just sent in 70 unopened tests and they came back positive. What's going on? Yep, that's really what's happening there. And it's very important. And again, I don't know this lady. I don't know the authenticity of this. I'm just sharing it with you. But seems kind of interesting. I'm hearing this a lot. And I'm telling you, if you are a nurse and you understand what's really going on, or a doctor, please contact Project Veritas, because they can help you do an undercover thing that will reveal some of this stuff. Now, I'm not sure how it works with HIPAA and everything, but I'm sure there's something they can help you do to get the truth out there if this is really happening. And I've heard several nurses have done this, and doctors, they've sent in these tests and they're not used at all, but they come back positive. So this is something we all need to be aware of, I think. And then I'm just going to leave the link to this page because it has some peer-reviewed studies you might want to look at. And when you take this link right here, and so there's several things that show that if taken at an early stage, the HCQ is pretty efficacious. However, if they wait, and also it has to have zinc with it, from what I'm hearing. But if they wait until the later stages, that's when it doesn't work nearly as well. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then Ted Cruz is introducing a bill to withhold corona relief funds for religious discrimination. So he is saying, if they're going to say, well, churches can't meet, but everybody else in the world can, and protests are just fine, then, yeah, he's going to say, no, we're not going to send money there. Of course, that probably won't pass the House, but at least he's trying to put something in. Well, if you haven't seen this piece here by Tucker Carlson, this is really just, he says it all, that it is about censorship. And it's not about science, never was, it's about power. So here's the full 10 minutes, at least it was active when he posted it. I'm not sure it still is, but it was then. All right, now, the whole Maxwell thing, I haven't been able to keep up. I knew at the time that I brought this up a couple days ago, I knew what was going on because they were supposed to have all these documents unsealed. Well, I think the documents are unsealed, but then I came across something that's like, this right here. Well, this doesn't have that much in it. It's like one page. So I kept looking through. Here's another one. It has all these attachments, but then up here it says deleted document number, stricken document. So, and here it says notice of documents ordered unsealed and document filed here. And so you can get those two, which are, not that. This one was like something about the unsealing. I'm just not sure what the deal is, if they were unsealed or not. I haven't had time to look, and I apologize. This is not, normally I usually have a lot more energy than this, but this is about all the more I can manage tonight. But these are a bunch of people that they said they might have information, but most of them are redacted, so it doesn't do you a whole lot of good here. Anyway, and this is a similar thing here that was unsealed, but it just basically goes through and says the witnesses, and again, has a lot of redactions. So, I don't know. I don't know the status of it. I'm sorry. That's not usually what I do, but this was the order right here. They were supposed to prepare for unsealing in accordance with the court's order of July 23rd, 2020, and it was supposed to be by July 30th. So, I'm recording this on the 31st in the evening. So, I saw one zip file that was supposed to have all the documents in it, and I didn't know the person, and I don't trust zip files from people I don't know, so I didn't get it. But yeah, and here's more on it. Filed a petition. Oh, now this one has 2,024 pages, but if you look at the filing date on this, this is from 8/9/2019. So this is a year ago. So these were the original ones that came out. So again, I couldn't find the others. I'm sure they're really easy to find. Somebody said they were on Dershowitz's site, but it crashed the site because everybody was trying to get it. I don't know. But evidently, somewhere in them, they must say Bill Clinton. And so Jordan Sather says, the mainstream media is printing that Bill Clinton was on Epstein's island with 2 young girls. And just like that, wealthy, powerful people being those isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. So, yep, there you go. Amazing how those conspiracy theories just pop out of nowhere and all of a sudden they're headline news. And speaking of our 17th letter of the alphabet friend, I'm just going to leave this down below, the link to it, because there's some data in here that might surprise you. Evidently, it exploded in March, and it says that 74.2 million interactions for the groups on Facebook, and then just since March alone, and that was since October 2017, which is the key date when Mr. Number 17 came out and started posting. But just 49.24 millions have taken place since March 2020. And so again, this is for Facebook groups, I believe. And this person is not a fan of the 17th letter of the alphabet. So he was trying to show how it's dangerous because there's so many of them. Well, there are a lot of us. That's for sure. And then this, I gotta tell you about this one, because when I started, I posted this and retweeted it. Well, I didn't post it, but I retweeted it. And this person, the name T-Pain, get it? Definitely not a Republican. And he had it going, and people down here below were saying, anybody who likes Trump should be had their head examined, they're mentally ill and everything else. And when I came in, it was quite no oriented, but we flipped it. And so this is the final vote. I don't think this person was expecting that. So, it's a lot of nasty stuff about Trump down here, the different comments. But there's a lot of patriots, President Trump is the best POTUS ever. He is, and he's doing a great job. So then I wanted to show you this, because the Democrats are still trying to say peaceful protesters. Yeah, this was a peaceful protester here. Yeah, that was peaceful. Peaceful. I'm sure it's just somebody, a summer of love person, right? So, but they're cracking down on them, okay? They really are. And at least there's one good judge out there in Oregon. Well, this is what I watched today. Yay. This was Fauci and Redfield and Admiral Giroir were testifying today. Oh, it was something else. There were some good points, of course. The Republicans tried to get information out there, but the Democrats were, well, there was no plan. In fact, I think the entire title of this meeting, this hearing, was something like, we need a plan, or the necessity of a plan. We need to have a plan. They keep claiming there's no plan. And Scalise did a really good job. He started, he's a ranking member on this committee, and he had a stack of papers that was like, 8 inches high. And he said, this is the plan. Here it is. Then you keep saying there's no plan. I got news for you. There is a plan. And, it's very detailed. The problem is Trump is respecting the 10th Amendment and letting the, people that are in running the different states and the cities, they're the ones that are supposed to be taking care of these things. And they were supposed to have plans in place already and stockpiles of all these different medical supplies that they needed, but they didn't do it in a lot of cases. So that's why certain, governors were not prepared, and they want to blame Trump for not being prepared because, of course, they want to do anything they can to make Trump look bad. But the plain and simple fact is there has been a plan. It's pretty obvious to anyone who watched the briefings that Trump did. There is a plan. They are working it, and they're adjusting it as necessary. That's what you do with a plan. So anyway, it was just kind of, Fauci was saying all kinds of stuff, but he did in somebody's, I don't know, did I? Yeah, here. Steve Scalise asked him these things. He said, did stopping flights from China and Europe save lives? Fauci said yes. Did early domestic strategies to slow the spread save lives? I believe it did. In fact, actually, this clip is really good because it goes through and he asked him several things, and Fauci had to say, yeah, Trump did the right things, and he agreed with Trump. So, these people that are out there saying, oh, you don't agree with Trump, yeah, Fauci and Trump, I don't think Trump, for 1 minute, I don't think Trump trusts Fauci. Okay, I really don't. But when he talks like that about people, he talks like that about just about everybody. That's just how he makes deals and how he works with people. He's not going to tell somebody, I hate you, if he's trying to make deals with them and have them work with them. So I don't think for a minute that he trusts the man, but I think he's going to tell people that he does. Just because it's necessary right now for the country, for Fauci to not be fired or anything like that. It would reflect badly on Trump. Not that he listens to everything Fauci. I mean, he probably listens to it, but he doesn't take it, take it to heart. I wanted to point out here, I don't follow some people. You're going to notice when I go through these things like this. And part of the reason is I don't follow a lot of blue check people. And from time to time, I get out of balance on Twitter, and then they kind of not let you add more people. So I tend to dump a bunch of the blue check people, and then I can follow them back later. So at any given time, sometimes there's blue check people I don't follow that are good people like him. So then I wanted to show you this. This is just for the stupidity of the left here. CNN avoids saying women, instead says individuals with the cervix. Okay, are there any guys out there that have cervixes? Okay, I really hate it when they do this with their sites, because then the banner makes it really hard, and then it doesn't blow it up very well. But anyway, so yeah, evidently CNN believes that there are some men who have cervixes, I guess. And so, just the craziness that is us right now. Wow. Okay, now I think if I did this right, most of the rest of these are going to have to do with HCQ. So just be aware of that. And I think probably Omar Navarro here has a really good point. The reason why the Democrats are so against it, it's because Big Pharma is funding their political campaigns. And remember, HCQ is generic now. They get, when they do their testing on these different drugs, they get a patent for 7 years. And then at the end of the 7 years, if they can come up with a new use for it, then they can have their patent extended for another 7 years. Like, for instance, Prozac, I believe, had a patent originally for 7 years for depression. And then, as the 7 years were kind of coming to an end, all of a sudden, no, it's also useful for anxiety. So they got another 7 years on it. And they make big money because then they can kind of set the price. After that 7-year patent runs out, then it can be done generically. And any drug company can then make it. But anyway, so I really think that probably the money in Big Pharma is part of the problem. And that's one reason why it's being attacked so much. That, and, you know, it belongs to Trump. Trump's talking about it. Okay, this article right here. Oh my goodness, I did not know Sharyl Attkisson had been doing so much. I mean, well, first of all, she's very aware of Media Matters. And if you've been on this channel very long, you've heard me talk about them. Media Matters is an organization that was created to be like the media center of the Democrat Party, pretty much. And what they do is they have like this huge video library and audio library of various politicians and top people on both sides, well, mostly Republicans, so they can do hit pieces. And they go back in their little archive and they dig up dirt and they bring it out. And that's why sometimes you'll see things circulate all of a sudden from, years ago. Well, that's what they have, this little, it's not a little archive, it's a very big archive that they use. And their entire purpose is to put out hit pieces on Republicans and to make it look like Republicans are horrible. They're the ones that are really pushing all of this negativity against Trump. And I have a video on that I discuss it more. There's a document that's out there that was leaked from one of their secret meetings. And I'm telling you, it has such horrible things in it. It was a plan that they put into action, and the meeting that they had where that was used was the very day that President Trump was being inaugurated. So it really is horrible stuff. Anyway, I am positive too, Sharyl Attkisson really says it though, that Media Matters is behind all of this negativity about HCQ. And you need to read this because this was a response to questions by the Washington Post, this guy, Paul Farhi. And the Media Matters blog had a bunch of stuff about her work. Well, I didn't know she had been doing so much work. This page right here is huge. I mean, this has so much stuff in it. You could read on this for a long time. And these are things, I mean, she's a journalist. It's not that she's taking one side or the other. She goes at it and actually does investigative journalism and looks at it from what's right and what's wrong. And it's just amazing what she's coming up with. I mean, she's not anti-vax, but she definitely knows that there are some that are very unsafe. And she knows the whole point of it. So this page, I mean, look, I'm only this far down and I've been scrolling for how long? I mean, it just continues on. It is a huge resource. Get this page. You need to see this page and go through it. Okay, and then she had this interview here with a doctor, and it really was part of the investigative journalism. And of course, this is what this guy has to say. I think you need to hear this.
Some of these decisions did not seem to be rational. And when things, in my opinion, that are so clear, the right path to take aren't taken, very often money is somehow involved.
When it comes to money, we checked financial ties among experts on the government panel devising coronavirus treatment guidelines, which had the effect of dialing back hydroxychloroquine use and giving an edge to remdesivir. We found that of 11 members reporting links to a drug company, 9 of them named relationships to remdesivir's maker, Gilead. 7 more, including 2 of the committee's leaders, have ties to Gilead beyond the 11 months they had to disclose. 2 were on Gilead's advisory board. Others were paid consultants or received research support and honoraria. Nobody reported ties to hydroxychloroquine, which is now made by numerous generic manufacturers and is so cheap Analysts say even a spike in sales would not be a financial driver for the companies.
Yeah, you really need to listen to this whole thing. It's about 10 minutes long. It really worth it. And then down here she has pretty much the storyline in case you don't want to watch it and you just want to read. But it's always better if you can hear their voice. Now, this came out May 17th of 2020. So it's been out for a while, but I missed it when it was first out. So I thought maybe you might too. This guy, this came out April 6th. And again, I'm finding these things that are like older, but I never saw him before. And so I'm kind of betting you probably haven't either. But this guy right here, he is a biostatistician. Statistician. I'm telling you guys, I'm tired. And so he has a really good bio here. He's has computer science from the University of Stuttgart and medical biometry, is that what it is? And, he worked 15 years with Klaus Dietz, a leading epidemiologist. I mean, so this is not just a fly-by-night guy. And it says his work has been widely cited in the technical medical literature, so try to understand his frustration with everything going on around him. A lifetime of work toward understanding diseases and their spread, and he has to watch all this unfold in the most brutal way that contradicts everything he knows and has tried to teach. And, he talks about it here, about herd immunity is what he's talking about. So, just a very interesting read. And then down at the bottom, it does have the interview if you want to watch it. Okay. So I'll leave the link to this down below as well. This is from the American Institute for Economic Research. And then I want to remind you of this. This came out July 10th. So again, a little old, but I felt I needed to share it with you, and I'm not sure I did. I can't remember at this point. But this Dr. Robert Epstein, I pointed out that he was interviewed. He was a witness in the Senate in one of the committees that Ted Cruz was in. And he pointed out that just from subliminal things and things that Google does without you really knowing it, that Google can sway, and here he says 10% of voters. This is what they are capable of doing, and people don't even know they're being manipulated. And that's what the hearing on that was, the tech hearing. That was the day after Barr's, I think. I don't know. They're all blurring into one. But, yeah, I watched that one too. It was, they just lied. I'm sorry. They just lied about it. And the Republicans tried to get them to tell the truth, but they wouldn't do it. So it was something that was frustrating for me to watch because I know the truth. And that Jamie, or whatever, I think it's Jamie Raskin, whatever, Raskin is his last name, a Democrat. He just got on my nerves because he's like, well, you're saying that, it's a conspiracy theory that there's censorship on these different social media platforms. And it's like, no. Do you want to know censorship? Censorship is when I have to demonetize most of my videos for the entire month of July because they dealt with what YouTube considers sensitive subjects, controversial subjects. And it's just, no, I know what's going on. I know what's happened. I know that in July I made 10% of what I made in January of 2019. Yeah, that's how bad it's gone. I mean, it's just been going downhill ever since, I think it was March 17th of 2019. It's just started going down, and it's worse because they're hiding us. They're not putting us in the recommended videos. I know that because I used to get about 70 to 75% of my views came from the recommended videos. Now I have like 10 to 15%. Yeah, that's telling me they're hiding my videos. They're not showing them, or suddenly all of my thumbnails are not interesting. I mean, I can understand some of them not being so interesting, but no, I've had some pretty good ones that I think should have been, and they did get a few more views, but it's just the numbers are showing that they're messing with us. I know they are, and it's a little frustrating. I gotta be honest, guys, when I work like 6 hours during a day putting together a video, and then I get 82 cents for it. Yeah, that's a lot of work for the day, and to only get 82 cents worth. I mean, I don't expect to get rich. I'm not expecting to get rich, anybody. That's not why I'm doing this, but I do have bills, and I need to get my bills paid. I just had car issues, and so I'm a little poorer today than I was yesterday. But, it's just one of those things that they're trying to do this, and then they sit back when they're, under oath in front of Congress, and we're not doing that. No, that's just a conspiracy theory. Yeah, it's not. Okay. Already had that. Sorry. Okay. This was an article that came out on the 21st, and this Yale epidemiology professor said that 100,000 lives could be used if they would just use HCQ. Now, I think we need to look very long and hard at who the doctors are in charge. Why is it only Fauci and Birx can tell us anything? That they're the only doctors that we can listen to. See, that should set up a red flag for every person, because we should have the freedom to listen to different voices, even if they don't agree with authorities. And especially when you're talking about the WHO, because the WHO has lied to us. We know now that the WHO lied to us about China, and that they were misleading us all just to protect China. So I don't understand why we have to listen to anybody, and whether that's a news person or a governor or a mayor or anybody, any doctor or anything. We have the ability to get a second opinion. And I, for one, want a second opinion. I would love to see a debate between one of the doctors, like maybe this guy, who says this drug is okay, and somebody like Fauci, who just today in the hearing, once again, said, oh no, whenever somebody brings up an actual study, oh, well, that's just not a good study. Yeah, I don't care if it's peer reviewed. It doesn't matter. It's not a good study. It's flawed. So every study that we bring up to him that actually supports it, no, those are all flawed. But when it comes to wearing masks, oh, we don't need studies to back that up. It's just science without any question. You can't question it. Oh, anyway, so I just thought that I would share this with you because I think this is really a good article, good interview, in case you missed it. So then the last thing I want to leave you with, and again, I'm really sorry that I'm so low energy on this. It's just been kind of a struggle. Sometimes the chronic fatigue does this. It just kind of wipes me out for a few days, and sitting up for very long is hard to do. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you because you know what they did to Don Jr.? They suspended his account. But guess what? Twitter didn't seem to see anything wrong with this CNN post. Gosh. I wonder why there's two standards. No, I don't. You know I don't wonder why, because I know. And interestingly enough, I have a neighbor, the lady across the street, who is not political at all. And probably in the past, if she ever did vote, she probably voted Democrat. But I was talking to her today, and she's the one that said, yeah, this is all going to go away after the election, November 3rd. And I said, yes, you're right, it will. So was very interesting to hear that. And I don't know, she's still saying she doesn't want to vote because she doesn't want anything to do with it. But I'm working on her because we need all the votes we can get, folks. We need to make sure Trump blows them away. Just completely. So many popular votes that there is no question whatsoever and that they can't cheat. Here's one of my concerns about the voting. Now remember, I don't understand why they can't get this. You know, the mainstream media, I heard one reporter was asking Trump today, just couldn't understand. There's a difference between absentee ballots and these mass mailings. What happens with absentee ballots is you have to individually request it. So they only go to people who have requested them. Mass mailings go to everyone on the list, including dead people and people who may not be legal citizens and who knows who else. So that's the problem we have. And then when they go to those people, what happens if the person has moved, if the person has died? What happens to those ballots? Are we just saying, well, we're going to take it on people's, honesty, on their being Boy Scouts about it? Well, I probably shouldn't say Boy Scouts anymore, right? Well, anyway, that they're going to be doing it on their honor, that they're going to turn them back in. Yeah, that's going to happen. You know what's going to really happen. So I think this is very concerning, that we need to be aware of it and do what we can to try to stop it. And one of the most concerning things to me is that they plan on actually not counting them right away, that they don't have to be in by the date of the election. See, I think that's wrong, because then what the Democrats can do is wait to see how many votes they need to beat Trump, and then they'll just make up that many ballots. Yeah, I honestly believe they would. So again, I think it's working in there. But I also know that I heard Trump say a few times that they have some things in place, okay? They really do have it. They have implemented some things, and I think the Democrats probably know this, and that's one reason why they're coming up with this new plan and want the mass mailings. And frankly, folks, if you can go out and protest, if you can go out to the grocery store, if you can go out to a restaurant, you can go vote. And if you're too scared to vote, then you really need to rethink your entire relationship to our country, because we're the land of the free and the home of the brave. So if you're not brave enough to vote, then maybe you shouldn't vote at all. That's just my opinion. I don't want to disenfranchise anybody. But, Trump had a thing on Twitter, and I had that queued up before, but it's a couple days ago, that he had a piece from CBS, one of the local stations, I believe, that did a test of 100 ballots. They made the documents the same size, the envelope and everything, same size, same weight. Everything was done pretty much as it could, and it was supposed to be sent to a certain mailbox that they opened up just for, as if it were a place that was open for the voting to receive the votes. And that 3% of them never made it. Okay? So think about 3% of votes being just lost, and of no fault of anybody, just the post office. Can you imagine? 3%, that's a lot. In fact, I believe that Trump lost the popular vote by about 3%. So, and that's just that. What happens when you've got postal workers who are dumping them in the trash, like that one instance, or, then there was in New Jersey, they had a bunch of them that were considered invalid because of signatures or this or that. And I mean, it was a large chunk of those. So how many votes are not going to count And this, even if it were all legitimate, how many votes are not going to be able to be counted just because they don't do things exactly correct? I mean, the chances of your vote not counting when you go and vote in person, it's virtually nil. I mean, you can't really do anything wrong. If you have one of the voting machines. I don't know, if you have a paper ballot, maybe you can mess it up or something, but usually they check them over. So the chances of your vote not counting when you vote in person is very small. But when you vote like, this with the mass mailing, it's very high. So even with, user error kind of thing, and then you have the post office losing 3%, and what else is going to happen? There's all these different kinds. You have all these people that are trying to work for the Democrat Party. So there are a lot of things that could happen that will change your vote and will not allow your vote to go through. So in my opinion, if you are capable of doing that, please vote in person. I think we need to turn out in droves. I don't care if the line is a mile long. Be ready, because your country needs you. Step up and vote. And I also wanted to point out that if you are not healthy, and I understand that, like my mom and dad are in their 90s, okay? They're going to, for the first time in their lives, they're going to vote absentee ballot just because they are older. And I think for their case, they can't wait in line like that. And the lines will be longer, I'm sure. And so I just don't think it's wise for them to go in. My mom has kind of fragile health especially, so we don't want to expose them. If you're in that situation, then by all means, absentee ballot is great. If you can't be home, absentee ballot is great. There's not a problem with that because you request it. It is sent only to people who request it. It's this mass mailing thing that's wrong. And that's what we have to really speak up against. So hang in there, folks. Keep fighting the battle. Contact your Congress members and let them know what you're thinking on these various topics, because it's so very important right now for us to make our voices known. Okay? So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.